We will now announce the winner for the 2000 XX National Mathematical Olympiad, the host declared, voice echoing across the grand auditorium, where hundreds sat in breathless anticipation. Chen Ruoxi sat at the front row, her hands clasped tightly in her lap, her heart pounding like a drum. The lights overhead seemed too bright, the claps too loud, every second stretching unbearably. Her phone buzzed quietly in her pocket. One message, from her mother. Ruoxi, after you're done there, come to the hospital. Your brother is in critical condition. I'll explain everything when you get here. Her breath hitched. The applause around her was deafening now. Our grand champion for this year's Olympiad is none other than Chen Ruoxi, a student who not only showed exceptional performance, but who came back stronger every time she fell. The crowd erupted in cheers. People were standing, clapping, looking at her like she was some kind of hero. But inside, Chen Ruoxi's world had gone deathly silent. The day that should have been my greatest triumph. She stared numbly ahead. Her legs felt like lead. Applause no longer sounded like music. It sounded like crashing waves swallowing her whole. Became the worst day of my life. An hour later, she was sitting in the passenger seat of her teacher's car, still clutching the medal in her hand like it might vanish. It felt heavy. Too heavy. Still, you did great receiving the award. And the speech, her teacher offered gently, glancing at her with a small, proud smile. Chen Ruoxi didn't respond right away. She was looking down, her fingers tightening around the hem of her dress until her knuckles turned white. Teacher, she whispered, her voice dry, almost breaking. Thank you, really. But can we please just go to the hospital first? Her teacher blinked, concern washing over her face. Of course. I'll get us there as soon as possible. Chen Ruoxi nodded faintly, eyes fixed on the passing blur of traffic outside the window. Her hand drifted to her lap, where the edge of the award certificate peeked out of her bag. In the end, she had gone up to receive it. The medal, the trophy, the recognition, the honor. Because her brother said he wanted to see her win. He said he'd stay by her side. He promised. And she'd believed him. This was supposed to be for him, she thought, placing a trembling hand over her face. Her tears didn't fall yet. They just swelled, brimming, burning behind her lashes. I don't even remember what state of mind I was in when I gave that speech. Public opinion be damned. Should I have just left immediately? Would they understand? But no, she'd stayed. Because if she left, the award would have no meaning. Because she thought, because she hoped, that he'd be okay. That's what he would have wanted, she murmured to herself. To see me on stage, smiling. She was lying to herself. Everything will be okay. Everything will be okay. She chanted under her breath like a mantra, like a child trying to ward off monsters under the bed. It'll be okay. Please let it be okay. The screen lit up. Mom. Her fingers trembled as she reached for it. The world slowed down. She pressed answer. Xiaoxi? Her mother's voice came through, barely holding together. It cracked like ice underfoot. Mom, what happened? Is Big Brother okay? Chen Ruoxi asked, instantly sitting up straighter, her voice sharp with panic. Silence. Too long. Too loud. Her chest tightened. She let out a small, almost hysterical laugh. Mom, please don't scare me like this. He's okay, right? You're just messing with me, right? This is a mistake. Just tell me, he's okay. Please tell me, he's okay. A beat. I'm sorry, Xiaoxi, her mother sobbed. It felt like the world stopped. Something inside her cracked, violently. She ended the call. The phone slipped from her hand. Blah. She bent forward, retching as though her body couldn't hold the grief. Nothing came out, just the sound of something breaking inside her. No, she whispered. No, 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 no. Her voice trembled as tears finally spilled, rushing down her cheeks uncontrollably. Brother. She fumbled with the necklace around her neck, pulling it open to reveal the tiny photo tucked inside. A picture of her and her brother when they were still children. She was 6. He was 8. His arms wrapped around her shoulders as they grinned. 2 kids who believed life would always be kind. She clutched it to her chest, sobbing so hard her body shook. I should have gone there. I should have been with him. Tears blurred her vision. Her hands shook. What is this? She choked out between sobs. I lived my whole life working so damn hard. I gave up everything. Everything. So why? Why my brother? She screamed. A silent scream, a cry of anguish that tore her throat but made no sound. Why is this happening to me? She whispered. Why him? He was the kindest person in the world. He never even hurt a bug. And now… She curled into herself, burying her face in her hands. Please, give him back. No one answered, not even God. She pressed the photo tighter to her chest, her tears soaking the fabric of her dress. The day she should have been crowned champion, the day she was supposed to stand tall, the day her brother said he would watch her shine, was the day everything fell apart, and all she had left was a medal that meant nothing without him. The hospital entrance was cold and sterile, but the moment Chen Ruoxi stepped inside, the world didn't feel real anymore. Her footsteps echoed faintly against the tiles, her medal still tucked in her coat pocket like a cruel joke. She barely had time to process the bright fluorescent lights or the faint chemical sting of antiseptic before she was swarmed. Are you the one who just won this year's NCMO? Oh my God, you're Chen Ruoxi, right? I saw the live stream. Didn't you give that speech about resilience? That was amazing! Their voices came from all directions, admiration laced in every tone, but none of it could reach her. Not now. She kept her expression neutral and gave a stiff nod. Excuse me, I have somewhere I need to be. She brushed past them as politely as she could, but it was impossible to stop her urgency from bleeding into her voice. As she turned toward the elevator, she heard them muttering behind her. So full of herself now that she won. She barely smiled. Head up high like she's better than everyone. Her grip tightened on the strap of her bag, knuckles white, but she didn't stop. Didn't turn around. Let them talk. They didn't know. They didn't know that each step she took toward the third floor felt like stepping through quicksand. They didn't know that her world was breaking apart. She reached the third floor, and the hallway felt like it stretched for miles. The hospital corridor was too quiet, the kind of quiet that wasn't peaceful. It was terrifying. The walls were pale. The smell of antiseptic clung to the air. Nurses moved around briskly. Machines beeped softly in nearby rooms. But all she could focus on was the figure hunched near a hospital door. Her mother, sitting on the floor outside the ward, shoulders trembling, head bowed low as she sobbed into her hands. And beside her, Chen Ruoxi froze. Her father, still in his business suit, though it was rumpled now, his tie loosened, his eyes bloodshot behind his glasses. He looked small, out of place, powerless. The man who was always distant, always busy, always composed, stood with his hand resting weakly against the wall, like it was the only thing holding him up. Chen Ruoxi wanted to laugh, bitterly. The last time she saw her father was weeks ago. She had half joked that he only remembered her and her brother existed during award ceremonies. Now, the next time she saw him was here, when Chen Zhenyu was gone. Gone. No, 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 no. She forced her legs to move. Mother, she called out, her voice cracking. Her mother looked up. Her face was streaked with tears, eyes swollen and red. The moment she saw Chen Ruoxi, she broke again, arms outstretched, and Ruoxi rushed into her embrace. She collapsed into her mother's arms, the weight of it all crashing down at once. She had already cried in the car, but this was different. This was real. And now that she was here, it was no longer just fear or dread. It was truth, and it was unbearable. Chen Ruoxi sobbed into her mother's shoulder, gripping her tightly. Like if she held on hard enough, maybe time would reverse. I'm here, she choked. I'm here now. 10 minutes passed like smoke. Then the door opened. A doctor stepped out with tired eyes and a clipboard clutched tightly in his hands. He looked at the family, the broken mother, the stiff father, the trembling girl, and he sighed quietly, like he'd done this too many times, and it never got easier. Mr. and Mrs. Chen, the doctor said gently,
I'm sorry for your loss. Chen Ruoxi blinked. Her heart thudded hard in her chest. The doctor continued. It was confirmed that the patient, your son, passed due to self-harm. Based on time of death, he's been gone for approximately 3 hours. Everything inside her went still. The world didn't move. She stared at the doctor like he'd spoken in a foreign language. The words didn't make sense. They couldn't. What? She whispered. No, this wasn't right. No, doctor, there's a misunderstanding, Chen Ruoxi said, voice rising.
She took a step forward, shaking her head, pleading with her eyes. That's impossible. My brother, he was the happiest person I knew. You're wrong. He wouldn't do that. The doctor opened his mouth, but she wasn't finished. Just this morning, her voice broke. Just this morning, he told me to do my best. He said if I won, he'd treat me to ice cream. He even joked about getting 2 scoops because it was going to be a double victory day. You don't understand, he wouldn't do that. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she gripped the fabric of her dress, her fists shaking. My brother, Chen Yu, wouldn't do that, she cried, louder now, desperately trying to rewrite reality through sheer will. He's strong. He always looked after me. He promised. He told me he'd be waiting when I came back from the ceremony. The doctor looked down, helpless. Chen Ruoxi turned to her parents, tugging on their sleeves like a child. Mom, Dad, tell them. Tell them he wouldn't. Tell them there's no way. Her mother was weeping quietly now, unable to form words. Her father, for the first time in her life, she saw him lower his head, not in shame or anger, but in sorrow. He gently placed a hand on her head, and Ruoxi looked up at him with broken eyes. Xiaoxi, he said quietly, voice hoarse. He didn't say anything else, because there was nothing else to say. Chen Ruoxi's knees buckled. She fell to the ground, clutching her chest as if she could hold the pain in, but it spilled out anyway, raw and agonizing. No, please, no, not him. Her mother knelt beside her, embracing her as Chen Ruoxi's body shook violently with sobs. All her hard work, all the sacrifices, all the nights she stayed up studying, pushing herself past her limits, just to make them proud, just to make him proud. She would have thrown it all away if it meant seeing him laugh again, if it meant hearing his voice again. The medal in her pocket felt like a curse. She didn't want to be a champion. She just wanted her brother back. Before the funeral, everything felt like a blur. Time had folded into itself. Nothing moved forward, and yet everything was happening too quickly. It was a grandmother who called the feng shui master. Chen Ruoxi had overheard the hushed conversations in the living room, the whispered belief that choosing the right day and hour might bring peace to the soul of the departed. The feng shui master had studied the almanac and the direction of the winds, his fingers moving over the chart with practiced precision. He eventually settled on an auspicious date and time for the burial, something about aligning heaven and earth for a smooth journey to the afterlife. Her family didn't protest. In times like this, they grasped for meaning in anything they could. 3 days of visitation were arranged before the burial. Their home transformed into a place of mourning. A white banner hung outside the gate, fluttering solemnly with the wind. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of incense and grief. Chen Ruoxi wore a traditional white mourning robe, plain, coarse, and heavy. White, the color of death in their culture. Her long black hair was tied back, and a single white flower was tucked above her ear. It wasn't just for tradition, it was for him. White chrysanthemums, too, were everywhere. She had made sure of it. They symbolized grief, purity, and farewell. Her grandmother came dressed in red, her eyes dull with sorrow. It was an old custom. When a grandchild died before the elders wore red to ward off misfortune. A cruel contradiction. Red, the color of joy, now clashed against the sea of white. It was jarring, but no one questioned it. On the first night, Chen Ruoxi made a decision. I'll stay with him tonight, she said quietly, firmly. Her voice trembled, but her eyes did not. Her parents looked at her, hesitating, but in the end, they said nothing. They stayed too.
That night, she sat by her brother's coffin, legs tucked under her as she watched the flickering glow of the candles. She kept the incense burning, replacing each stick before it died out. The joss paper, spirit money, crackled and curled into ash as she fed it to the flames one by one. "Buy something nice up there, okay?" she whispered as she watched it burn. "Don't be stingy like before." She tried to smile. It didn't last. The funeral hall filled with wreaths and bouquets, some sent from people she didn't even recognize. But the ones that mattered, she knew. His friends came, each carrying flowers, photos, quiet tears.
On the first day, his high school classmates showed up in a line. Some stared at the ground, others cried openly. They brought letters, small tokens. Someone placed a basketball keychain inside the offering tray. Another left a drawing. Chen Ruoxi didn't ask who drew it. She simply placed it near his portrait. On the second day, his college classmates arrived. They were older, quieter. Many bowed deeply to her parents and then to her. She caught snippets of conversation, words like shock. He was always smiling. Never thought. But what moved her most was on every single day, his childhood friends came. All of them. They didn't just come for one day out of obligation. They came every day, straight for 7 days. They brought memories and laughter and silence. They brought tears. Chen Ruoxi smiled bitterly as she arranged another chrysanthemum. "I hope you knew," she whispered, her fingers brushing a petal, "that you were loved this much." People kept coming, and with them came the pitying glances, the awkward condolences. "I'm sorry for your loss. He was such a bright soul. My deepest sympathy." Words that meant well, but none of them could touch the gaping hole inside her. Each phrase felt like a pin in her skin. Each nod of sympathy only made it more real. He was gone. He was really gone. And every time someone said, "Be strong," she wanted to scream. Because she had been strong. Too strong. 7 days of nodding, bowing, thanking them with dry eyes and tight smiles. She didn't want strength. She wanted her brother. And then came the burial. The sky was gray, as if the heavens themselves were mourning. The air was damp and thick. Chen Ruoxi wore white again, her robe even heavier with rain and heartbreak. She stood beside the casket as it was slowly lowered into the earth. There were no more incense sticks to hold, no more joss paper to burn. There was only the finality of dirt. And that was when she broke. The tears didn't come quietly this time. She sobbed, loud, guttural, uncontrollable sobs that tore from her throat like she had been holding them in for years, not days. Her knees gave out, and she fell to the ground, clutching her robe as if it would keep her from falling apart completely. Her mother knelt beside her, holding her. Her father turned away, his face hidden behind his sleeve. "I miss you," she wept, voice cracking. "I miss you so much, big brother. I don't know how to live without you." Her cries echoed through the cemetery. There was no shame in them, no silence left. She had kept herself together for 7 days, for her family, for the guests, for the traditions. But now she let herself grieve. And as the final shovel of earth covered his grave, Chen Ruoxi knew one thing. The world had lost its brightest light, and she had lost her best friend. The 49 days following her brother's death were steeped in ritual and silence, in smoke and sorrow. In their culture, these 49 days held deep spiritual weight. It was believed that the soul wandered, searching for peace, for resolution, that rebirth was not immediate, that the living could guide the dead toward a better next life through prayers, offerings, and merit-making. So Chen Ruoxi and her family honored every single one of those days. Each morning began with incense, with soft chanting, with carefully arranged offerings, fresh fruit, his favorite snacks, cups of warm tea, and candles that burned until they melted into nothing. They refrained from all joyous events. No celebrations, no loud laughter, no bright colors. Everyone wore black. Even the flowers in the house were muted, soft whites and grays, as if color itself had vanished with her brother's departure. On some days, they released paper lanterns into the sky, carrying their hopes that he was finding light in whatever realm he now wandered. Chen Ruoxi never missed a day. Not once. She burned joss paper until her fingers were smugged with ash. She recited sutras until her throat ached. She bowed so many times her knees grew raw. And when the 49th day finally came, and they performed the final ritual, offering food to monks, burning one last incense stick, and placing one final candle near his photo, there was only quiet left. No peace. Just quiet. That night, after everyone had retreated to their rooms, Chen Ruoxi sat on the edge of her bed, still in black. Her fingers traced the hem of her sleeve absent-mindedly. The house felt bigger, emptier. The halls didn't echo with laughter anymore. And she, who had grown used to having a shadow in the form of her brother, now found her steps too loud, too alone. What now? She thought. Summer vacation had just begun, but it didn't feel like a vacation. Her family used to plan their annual trips around this time. Sometimes the beach, sometimes the mountains. Sometimes her brother would suggest something spontaneous, like a road trip. There would be arguments over the music playlist and who got the window seat. He always let her win. But now, those plans were forgotten. Her parents barely spoke. Her mother only moved when necessary. Her father threw himself into work. And she wandered through the days with no direction. Something inside her told her to go to his room. It hadn't been touched since the funeral. The door still creaked the same way, but the air inside was heavier, like his absence had weight. She ran her fingers over his bookshelf, the photos on his desk, the jacket slung over the back of his chair. And then, almost instinctively, she pulled open the drawer of his bedside table. There, inside, was a worn notebook and a folded letter. Her breath caught. Carefully, reverently, she carried them to her room like fragile glass. She opened the notebook first. Its pages were filled with her brother's handwriting, small, neat, and warm. She flipped through slowly, and as she read, something in her chest twisted. Today, Xiaoxi turned 10. She told me she's a big girl now and doesn't need me to walk her to school anymore. I acted cool about it, but I'm kind of sad. Xiaoxi cried today because a boy called her a rabbit. She thought he was making fun of her teeth. I told her he probably liked her. I also told her she is a rabbit, the cutest, fluffiest rabbit in the world. Xiaoxi sang off-key today while doing homework. It was terrible. I loved it. She made me a paper flower today. It was ugly. It's in my drawer now. Forever. She got top marks again. I told her I was proud, but not as proud as I really am. She deserves more than just words. She got her first period. Mom was panicking, Dad was hiding, and I was the one who went to the store to buy pads. The cashier gave me a thumbs up. Xiaoxi was embarrassed. I was honored. Today, she said she wanted to be just like me. I hope one day she learns to be even better. She drew me today. It's a stick figure with weird hair and an enormous head. Apparently, that's what I look like. I'm keeping it forever. Today, my little sister, Xiaoxi, finally beat me in chess. I told her I let her win, but actually, I didn't. She's getting too smart. She looked so smug. I wanted to throw the board. I didn't. I'm proud of her. She still needs to work on her trash talk, though. 4 out of 10 delivery. The entries went on like that, full of warmth, little joys, quiet pride. Chen Ruoxi's tears blurred the ink. She clutched the notebook to her chest, pressing it against her heart like it might bring him back. Her hands trembled as she reached for the letter. It was addressed to her. The moment she unfolded it, she could feel his presence in every line. The paper smelled faintly of his cologne. His handwriting was still the same, steady, patient, like he always was. Dear Xiaoxi, hey, little rabbit. If you're reading this, then you probably went snooping in my stuff again. Tisk tisk. I should have locked my drawer. Okay, jokes aside, this is the letter I never wanted to write, and I hope you understand I didn't want to leave you with it. But I need to tell you the truth. I've been struggling with depression for about 2 years now. I didn't tell you because I didn't want you to worry. You always looked at me like I was invincible, like your big brother could do anything, and I wanted to be that for you. I really did. I tried therapy. I tried medication. I tried pretending everything was fine. Sometimes it worked. Sometimes it didn't. Sometimes I felt okay for days. Then suddenly, it would crash all over me, like a wave I couldn't breathe through. And I hated it. How it made me tired. How it made me feel like I was failing you just by existing. There were nights when I thought of you, and that was enough to hold on. You gave me so many reasons to keep going. Your drawings, your laugh, the way you steal my snacks, even when I hide them. You're my favorite person in the entire world. You know that? But this pain, it just doesn't listen sometimes. And I'm sorry. I'm really, really sorry. For not being strong enough. For not holding on longer. For not telling you sooner. I'm sorry you have to read this instead of hearing it from me face to face. You deserve better than this letter. You deserve a lifetime of hugs and bad jokes and ice cream days. Xiaoxi, I'm so sorry I left you in this empty place. I didn't mean to. If I could have stayed, I would have. I promise I tried. Please don't blame yourself. Please don't think I didn't love you enough. I did. I love you more than anything in the world. You're going to grow up to be amazing, scary smart, with a kind heart and a fire in your soul. I'll be cheering for you, wherever I end up. Keep being brave, little rabbit. And don't forget to live. For both of us, okay? Love, Daga. P.S. Tell Mom to stop putting cilantro in everything. Tell Dad I forgive him. By the time she finished the letter, Chen Ruoxi could no longer breathe through her sobs. She folded herself over the letter, crying so hard it shook her body. Not just from grief, but from the unbearable love that radiated from every word. He had suffered in silence, and yet, in his last words, all he gave her was love. Gentle, patient love. She pressed the pages to her chest and cried, deep, shuddering sobs that reached the hollowest parts of her heart. "I miss you," she whispered. "I miss you so much." But somehow, even in the sorrow, she felt him again. Not just in the notebook, not just in the letter, but in the love he left behind. The summer after her brother's death didn't pass, it decayed. For the next 2 months, Chen Ruoxi became a ghost in her own home. The once bright, competitive girl who had obsessively chased perfect grades now did nothing but lie in bed.
She didn't open her textbooks. She didn't go out.
Some days, she didn't even bother to brush her hair. Meals were a mechanical ritual, tasteless food shoveled into her mouth by force of habit or by her mother's tired pleading. The only thing she truly clung to was her brother's letter. Every night before sleeping, she would read it like a sacred ritual, as if memorizing every sentence could keep him alive a little longer. Again, and again, and again. Each time her eyes moved over the words, the ending never changed. He was still gone. He still wasn't coming back. But the way he said goodbye, it was like she could still hear his voice in her room, that quiet, teasing tone, calling her little rabbit, as if he had only gone on a trip and would be back soon. But he wasn't, and he wouldn't. Her room was a tomb now. The curtains stayed drawn, sunlight filtered through like old dust. Her desk, once stacked with notebooks and study guides, was now cluttered with untouched assignments and unopened books. A photo frame of her and her brother, him flashing a peace sign, her glaring because he pinched her cheek too hard, gathered dust. She let herself rot.
Because what was the point in growing, when he would never see it?
She didn't cry as much anymore. Her body was too tired for that. But her chest always hurt, heavy with the kind of ache no sleep could cure. People said grief lessened with time, but Chen Ruoxi wasn't sure if she was healing or just forgetting how to feel anything else. Then, summer vacation ended. She returned to school as a hollow version of herself, Chen Ruoxi, third-year student, top scorer, academic powerhouse. None of it seemed to fit anymore. People expected her to be laser-focused on Gaokao, to chase university rankings like a machine. But she was tired of pretending. The girl who once obsessed over getting hundreds now stared blankly at quizzes, sometimes forgetting to write her name. She didn't fail, her habits were too deeply wired, but she stopped pushing. The hunger was gone. The engine had stalled. The start of third year came like a rude awakening. Gaokao, the college entrance exam that once meant everything to her, now felt distant, irrelevant. Her classmates talked about cram schools, top-tier universities, and late-night study grinds. Chen Ruoxi sat in the corner by the window, staring blankly at her notes. The words blurred. She used to be the one people asked for help, the one teachers praised. Now, she barely passed quizzes. Ruoxi, do you want to join our study group? A girl in her class asked one afternoon, hesitant but kind. Her name was Li Hua, one of the few who hadn't stopped trying to reach out. Chen Ruoxi looked up. No, she said softly, then added, Thank you, though. The girl looked disappointed but nodded. If you change your mind, we meet at the library after class. Chen Ruoxi watched her go. She knew Li Hua meant well, but kindness only reminded her of how alone she felt. It was as if the world had placed a glass wall between her and everyone else. They were all moving forward, preparing for their futures, while she was still stuck in that hospital hallway on the day her brother died. 5 months passed like this. The calendar moved forward. She didn't. That day, she got home late. One afternoon, she returned home, the chill of early winter clinging to her coat. She dropped her bag by the door and paused in the hallway. She stood in the hallway, watching through the kitchen doorway as her mother adjusted fabric samples under warm lighting, her eyes tired, but alive with concentration. Her father was on a business call in the living room, papers strewn across the coffee table. His tie was loosened, his laptop open. They were moving on. She felt something ugly twist inside her, bitter and quiet. Why does it feel like the world is spinning while I'm stuck in place? The bitterness came quick and sharp, like a needle under skin. How can they move on so easily? She thought. How can the world keep spinning when mine stopped? She climbed the stairs to her room, tossed her phone on the bed, then sat staring at the ceiling. The grief hadn't lessened. It had only learned how to blend in with her routine. Her family was returning to their lives. People smiled again, joked, made plans. But her brother was still dead, and the world acted like it had already forgotten him. She threw her bag on the floor and slumped on her bed. Her phone buzzed, and she picked it up without thinking. Scrolled, refreshed, scrolled again. Her screen was a blur of people laughing, traveling, posting memes, getting boyfriends, taking selfies. Living. And then, in between an ad for lip gloss and a study app, a web novel promo. A Thorn in the Crown wasn't some melodramatic tragedy. It was a sports novel, about cycling of all things. Not a popular genre, yet it had ranked #1 on MLC literature for 4 years straight. The male lead, Lin Haoran, wasn't the typical underdog or prodigy. He came from a family of doctors, but defied expectations to pursue his true passion, cycling. Along the way, he built a team, formed friendships, and carved the path toward greatness. It wasn't even her type of story. Sports? Cycling? Urban grit? She almost scrolled past it. But she didn't. She clicked it, out of boredom, out of numb curiosity, maybe even out of desperation, anything to not think. She read the first chapter, then the second, then 5 more. The writing wasn't flowery, it was real, gripping. The characters leapt off the page, and before she realized it, she wasn't thinking about the ache in her chest anymore. Then came Zhao Jiankun. At first, he was just a supporting character, a quiet friend with a sharp mind. But slowly, his story unfolded. A boy from a poor family, working multiple part-time jobs to afford his younger brother's hospital bills. As her brother's health declined, he grew desperate. And when hope slipped through his fingers, he crossed lines, betrayed teammates, and spiraled into something unrecognizable. Chen Ruoxi couldn't stop reading. She watched as Zhao Jiankun distanced himself from the team, abandoned friendships, and took the fall for things he didn't do. She read about how his brother's health deteriorated, how he broke down in silence because there was no one left to hold him. He became the antagonist, not out of malice, but out of sheer desperation. And Chen Ruoxi couldn't look away. She saw herself in him. Because if she had known her brother was sick, she would have done anything, absolutely anything, to keep him alive too. Just like Zhao Jiankun.
just like the desperate boy with tired eyes and a heavy heart. When he stood alone in the rain after losing everything, she cried. When people vilified him without knowing the pain that drove him, she wanted to scream. When readers left angry comments, she wanted to write back. He didn't want to become a villain. He just didn't know how to survive. Her hands trembled as she read late into the night, her tears soaking the screen. In Zhao Jiankun, she didn't find hope or healing. She found companionship in sorrow. Just like how people pitied her when her brother died, she now pitied him. Deeply, tragically, fiercely. Misery loves company, and somehow it made her feel less alone. It had been a week since Chen Ruoxi finished reading A Thorn in the Crown, and the story hadn't left her. It clung to her like the ghost of a dream she couldn't shake. Zhao Jiankun's tragedy lingered in the corners of her mind, echoing a grief she hadn't been able to voice in her own life. It was a quiet Saturday morning. The sun was out, but the light felt pale, almost cold. She hadn't planned on going out, but something inside her stirred. She needed air. She needed him. She washed her face, combed her hair, and put on a soft cream cardigan he used to say made her look like a loaf of bread. She took one last look in the mirror. Her reflection felt unfamiliar, but she nodded anyway. She stopped at a small flower shop a few blocks away. The bell on the door chimed softly as she entered. An elderly woman behind the counter looked up from trimming rose stems and smiled. "Good morning, miss. Looking for something special?" Chen Ruoxi hesitated for a moment, then replied quietly, "Do you have white chrysanthemums and white lilies?" The woman gave her a gentle look, understanding without needing to ask. "Yes, they're in season. Give me a moment. I'll make a bouquet for you." As she worked, she wandered through the shop, her fingers grazing petals and ribbons, her thoughts drifting. When she returned, she handed her the bouquet wrapped in soft tissue, tied with a silver ribbon. "They mean remembrance and peace," she said gently, as she walked over to a small refrigerated case. "Someone you love?" Chen Ruoxi paused, then nodded. "My brother." The woman's smile turned somber. "He must have been very special." "He was," Chen Ruoxi murmured. "He still is." The woman wrapped the bouquet with gentle hands, as if she understood the fragility of grief. "Take your time saying hello. He's probably waiting." Chen Ruoxi whispered, "I hope so." She held the bouquet to her chest and gave a small bow. "Thank you. Take care, young lady." She got into a cab and murmured the cemetery's name. The ride was quiet. The streets passed by in flashes of gray and green, but she barely noticed. Her hands gripped the bouquet like it was keeping her grounded. After arriving at the cemetery, it was a 5-minute walk through the gravel path and rows of headstones. The bouquet swayed gently in her arms as she walked, the scent of lilies light and lingering. She stopped in front of a simple marble headstone with her brother's name etched into it. She knelt down and placed the bouquet gently at the base. "Hey," she whispered, voice cracking. "It's me again." She exhaled shakily and closed her eyes. "I'm sorry I didn't come last week. I thought about you every day, I swear." Her lips trembled. I finished this book last week. There was a character who reminded me of you. Not because of what he did, but because of the way he loved his brother. It was stupid, probably, but I kept thinking, if I were Zhao Jiankun, if I knew, maybe I could have done something. Saved you. Protected you. She drew in a shaky breath. I don't think I'll ever move on from this. From you. I thought reading would help, but I just kept thinking, what if I forget you? What if I move on and your face starts to fade? Your laugh, your voice, the way you used to call me Robao, like I was 5. She looked down at the flowers. I'm scared to move on, because if I move on, it's like letting go. It's like forgetting. And if I forget, you'll really disappear. She wrapped her arms around her knees and rested her forehead on them. I'm still doing the same things. I still hate coffee. I still avoid biology homework. And I still remember how you teased me for saying I'm fine when I clearly wasn't. Her voice broke into a whisper. I'm not fine.
The wind stirred lightly, as if in response. A single white petal drifted from the bouquet. Everyone else is moving on. Dad's working again, Mom's sketching, but I'm still here, stuck. I miss you so much. A sob escaped her throat. I miss you so much. I hate that you're not here. You should visit me in my dreams, you know? How could you not come by even once? You used to show up every time I had nightmares as a kid, even if it was 3 a.m. But now that I need you most, nothing. Not even a flicker. She sat there, recounting the week, her classes, her classmates' chatter, the dreams she had about their childhood, even the weather. Mundane things. Silly things. But it felt like she was keeping him alive, if only for a moment. Time passed without her realizing. She glanced at her phone. An hour? She blinked. Standing slowly, brushing off her skirt, she called for a taxi. As the cab drove down the road, she looked out the window. And then, there it was. Imperial coffee and tea. She tapped the driver on the shoulder. Sorry, can you drop me off here instead? She paid and stepped out, standing still for a long moment. The sign hadn't changed. The same weathered wood, the same faint smell of roasted beans and tea leaves. The door creaked open like it always had. Inside, everything was the same. The soft jazz, the hum of conversations, the clinking of mugs. She walked up to the counter. Matcha latte, she said softly. Cold. The barista nodded, tapping the order in. When she received her drink, she stepped outside and found a vacant table under the shade of a small tree. She sat down, holding the cold cup in both hands. A memory hit her, her brother wrinkling his nose. You're drinking that again? It tastes like grass. She smiled softly to herself. You never got it. Matcha's an acquired taste. As she sipped her drink, something caught her eye. A little boy was playing nearby with a red ball. He was about 7, kicking a ball with stubby, uncoordinated legs. His laughter rang in the air like wind chimes. Then the ball rolled too far, and he ran after it. Time slowed. Chen Ruoxi's body moved before her brain could catch up. Her chair fell back. Her drink spilled. Her feet pounded the pavement as she screamed, "Stop!" The boy didn't hear her. She grabbed his arm just as the ball bounced toward the road. She yanked him back, and didn't see the car. The impact was sudden. Her body hit the hood, then the pavement. The world tilted, spun, went still. There was blood. Voices blurred. Someone call an ambulance! Oh my God, she saved that kid! Pain bloomed everywhere, sharp, suffocating. The sky swirled above her like spilled ink. Chen Ruoxi's chest heaved, but the air wouldn't come. Her limbs were heavy. She could hear her heart slowing down. Her vision blurred, the sky softening like watercolor. Brother, are you disappointed in me? Mom, Dad, I'm sorry. I wasn't good. I made you worry. I wasn't strong enough. I'm sorry. You lost your son, and now, your only daughter, your only child. Tears leaked from the corner of her eyes, mixing with the blood trickling down her temple. I should have lived better. I should have tried harder. I should have let go. But I didn't know how. Everything was fading. The sounds, the light. Her thoughts blurred into one desperate wish. Please don't be sad. Please forgive me. There was nothing around her. No sound. No ground beneath her feet. No sky above her head. Just white. Endless white. Chen Ruoxi floated through it like a feather suspended in time. She didn't know where she was or what she had become. She felt no pain, no weight. Just emptiness. A silence so absolute it rang. Is this what death feels like? She wondered. She didn't know if minutes passed, or hours, or days. But slowly, softly, like a ripple across still water, memories began to rise. Not her last moments. Not the accident. Not even her mother's arms or her father's voice. But him. Her brother. The first vivid memory Chen Ruoxi had wasn't of being cradled by her parents or hand-fed her favorite fruit. It was of chubby little fingers fumbling with wooden letter blocks on the playroom floor, and a patient boy's hand guiding hers. She was 3 years old. He was 5. Chen Zhenyu, 5 years old, trying to teach a 3-year-old how to write her own name on a magnetic drawing board. Here. His little finger guided hers, steady and warm. That's Qing. The lines go like this. Try again, no rush. She remembered how he celebrated when she finally got it right. Not it's A, he corrected gently, tapping the alphabet card with a pencil. Try again. A, she mumbled. That's my little sister. He beamed, the gap between his front teeth making him look even younger than he was. You're going to be the smartest girl in the whole class. Zhenyu taught her everything after that. How to hold a pencil, how to pronounce library properly, how to read road signs, how to count in twos. He even made little flashcards when she had trouble reading compound words.
At 6, he was teaching her how to write letters. At 8, he helped her memorize poems. When she had a stutter at age 5, it was Zhenyu who gently corrected her, day after day, until she spoke smoothly. And he never, not once, lost his patience. So really, it wasn't a surprise how much she depended on him. And just like that, he rewrote the definition of family for her. Chen Zhenyu didn't just play with her, he raised her. Even though they had nannies and housekeepers and enough money to hire a dozen tutors, Chen Ruoxi clung to Zhenyu. Because while everyone else worked on schedules and salaries, Zhenyu loved her just because. He was only 2 years older, barely a child himself. While their nanny cleaned the living room and the maids prepared dinner, it was Zhenyu who helped her tie her shoelaces, who remembered she liked the giraffe plate for breakfast, who stood guard by the bathroom door because she was scared of the mirror ghost stories their cousins told her. He taught her how to read, how to write, how to pronounce February properly. Not February, dummy, February, he'd scold with a smile. He tied her shoelaces when she couldn't bend down in her puffy skirts. He made sure her juice box straw didn't get stuck. He buttoned the back of her school uniform when her tiny arms couldn't reach. It wasn't fair. It wasn't fair that someone so young had to grow up so fast. He even taught her how to greet their grandparents in dialect, so she wouldn't embarrass herself during New Year dinners. Their parents were rarely around. Their parents were always busy. Her mother immersed in designing for her grandfather's fashion empire, her father consumed by meetings and investor calls for the real estate company he ran. Chen Ruoxi knew now they had loved her, in their way, but their love had been distant, wrapped in time zones and scheduled calls and missed birthdays. But with Zhenyu, it was always immediate, warm, there. Chen Ruoxi didn't grow up feeling empty or abandoned, because Chen Zhenyu made sure she never noticed their absence. He walked her to her classroom every morning, sometimes carrying both their school bags because she complained hers was too heavy. He would gently warn her teachers if she seemed too quiet, chased away boys who confessed to her in middle school, and told her, dead serious, that any future boyfriend had to pass a written test and an interview. She never missed her parents because he was there. She didn't even envy kids who had their mothers drop them off, because her brother did all that and more. Every bedtime, she'd crawl into his room with a storybook and pout until he made space on the bed. He never refused. He read Cinderella so many times that he once recited it backwards just to make her laugh. He had been her safe place, her constant. When she made mistakes in homework, he never shouted, just gently corrected her until she got it right. Dog, can we go to the aquarium this weekend? He never said no. If you want to go to the aquarium this weekend, he'd say, I'll ask Nanny Zhang to come with us. And on Saturday, they'd go. He'd walk beside her slowly so her tiny legs could keep up, point out fishes through the glass, and tell her their names like he was a marine biologist. That's a lionfish. See the fins? Like spikes. Why is it called a lionfish? Because it's proud, like me. She giggled and believed every word. Chen Zhenyu was only 2 years older, but he carried himself like he was decades ahead, steady, quiet, dependable. So dependable, in fact, that Chen Ruoxi forgot he was still a kid too. She forgot that while he held the umbrella over her head, shielding her from the storms of childhood, no one held an umbrella over him. Every Chinese New Year when he returned from boarding school or university, relatives would swarm him like he was a prodigy. Top of your class again, Zhenyu? So mature for his age. You'll be the pillar of the Chen family someday.
Chen Ruoxi had always admired him for it. She used to feel proud walking beside him. That's my big brother. But floating here now, in the void, she saw the memory differently. When had she ever asked him, "Are you okay? Were you really okay, Guga?"
She had been so busy basking in his light that she never wondered how much darkness he was hiding behind it. She used to think she knew everything about him. But now she realized Chen Zhenyu had been proficient in loving her, and in dying quietly. Suicide didn't come to someone in a single night. It seeped in over years, hollowing someone out, bit by bit. He was proficient in suicide, which meant it wasn't a sudden thought. He must have entertained it before. She was 16 when he died. When she was 16, she had him. But when he was 16, who did he have? When she was 5, he read her fairy tales. But when he was 5, who read him to sleep? When she was scared of walking into school alone, he held her hand. But who held his when their parents were busy and the halls felt too big? Who celebrated his first proper handwriting? Who tucked him in when he cried at night? She hadn't thought to ask, because he always smiled, always came home, always answered. She had been so selfish, so blind. He was always the umbrella, always shielding me. And she? She never thought to hold it for him. Not even once. Tears should have fallen, but her eyes didn't work anymore. Her throat couldn't sob. Her body was gone. So she just felt a grief so wide and deep it could have swallowed the white void around her. "I'm so sorry, Guga." The loneliness must have been unbearable. Looking around and seeing classmates walking with their parents, being hugged, being scolded. And him, always ahead, always the older brother, always the one carrying the umbrella. His love had been that umbrella, sturdy and always there, shielding her from every storm. And she had never thought to tilt it back toward him, even once. I should have known. I should have asked. I should have tipped the umbrella just a little. Let you rest in the shade for once. Her voice echoed through the nothingness, unheard. You deserve more than praises at dinner tables. You deserved someone to ask you if you were tired. You deserved someone to stay beside you when the night got heavy. Chen Ruoxi wanted to scream. "Daka, please don't leave me." "I'll do better. I swear. I'll love you like you loved me." But it was too late. She was dead. And maybe that was the price of not asking the right questions, of thinking someone so capable didn't need help, of believing love didn't need to be returned in equal measure. "Doug, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Wow, I can't believe I teared up while writing this." When Chen Ruoxi woke up, her head felt like cotton stuffed in a washing machine, spinning, soggy, and a little warm. Her eyelids fluttered as she squinted into the sunlight filtering through a car window. "Little girl, we've arrived," said a raspy voice. A shadow moved beside her, and then someone waved a phone screen right in front of her nose, nearly blinding her. Chen Ruoxi glanced at him while rubbing her forehead. Strange. Where was she? Chen Ruoxi blinked a few times, slowly turning her head toward the source of the voice. It was a middle-aged taxi driver with stubble, a bucket hat, and mirrored sunglasses reflecting her own dazed expression. Chen Ruoxi pressed her fingers against her temple, trying to ground herself. Where was she? Why did it smell like pineapple car freshener and regret? Why was she in a taxi? Wasn't she dead? The driver stared at her through the rearview mirror, visibly annoyed. "What are you daydreaming for, little girl? I got off work in 10 minutes.
Don't make me turn into a pumpkin." Chen Ruoxi slowly lowered her gaze. A phone sat neatly on her lap. Still in a daze, Chen Ruoxi looked down. The phone case glared up at her like a neon sign in Las Vegas. It was sparkly. No, blindingly sparkly. The gaudy, purplish-pink case had a giant speech bubble printed on the back, outlined in glittery rhinestones with the word Kismet embedded in the center. Chen Ruoxi nearly dropped it in horror. "Is this mine?" she wondered, hesitating before lifting the phone. On reflex, she tried facial recognition. The screen lit up. A reflection showed in the black glass. Big, round almond eyes stared back at her, framed by long lashes.
She had a small, pert nose and soft pink lips. Her hair was pulled into two neat ponytails tied with velvet ribbons. She looked like a high school student, and a cute one at that. However, the abnormal thing was that she clearly died in an accident while saving a kid, but she was actually wearing a high school uniform right now, and this uniform wasn't even their high school uniform. Chen Ruoxi thought that she might be dreaming, but can a dead person even dream?
She rubbed her eyes again before picking up the phone to take another look. Nothing before her changed. Chen Ruoxi. Faced with the impatient huff of the taxi driver, she mechanically scanned the QR code and climbed out of the car, confusion clouding every thought. Chen Ruoxi stood by the side of the road as she thought about the discoveries she made in the taxi. She was wearing a crisp school uniform she had never worn in her life. Blue blazer, plaid skirt, little golden school crest on the lapel. She quickly looked through the personal possessions she was carrying before finding an ID in her wallet. The name and photo on the ID matched her perfectly, even the birthday was the same. She frowned and checked again. She frowned and checked again. If it wasn't because she found an unfamiliar student ID with a school she didn't recognize, she really would have thought it was all her own personal belonging. She stood by the side of the road for a long time. It was only until after she inhaled a mouthful of car exhaust that she slowly accepted the fact that she has transmigrated after dying. And as luck would have it, not only did the original host have the same exact name as her, she also looked exactly the same. It was simply a second Chen Ruoxi. She knew of a person with the same name as her, but it's just that person. And just when she thought the situation couldn't get weirder, bzzz, bzzz, she jumped and fumbled it open. A call. "Hello?" she said cautiously. The guy on the other end answered immediately, chewing on something audibly, probably gum or his dignity. A voice came through the speaker, chewing on something loudly, like sunflower seeds or gum. "Hey, when are you going to get here? I already told your mom I'd wait, but you're slower than a turtle on a treadmill. I'm standing out here in the sun like a fool. You think I'm doing this for fun? My back is practically sizzling. If I get heat stroke, I'm blaming you." Chen Ruoxi pulled the phone away from her ear and stared at it like it had personally offended her. Who is this noisy brat? "You know, it's already been 15 minutes. You seriously can't expect me to wait here all day, right? If it weren't for... The original host can't possibly be someone that mingles with the underworld, right? But according to the student ID, she seemed like an ordinary high school student. She couldn't even catch the end of that sentence. The guy talked like a malfunctioning voice assistant, fast, relentless, and allergic to listening. "Chen Ruoxi, are you listening? Hey, I said if you don't arrive in 5 minutes, I'm going to." "You can enter first," Chen Ruoxi said flatly. "What? I've been waiting for 15 minutes and you tell me to enter now? You should have said that 10 minutes ago. How dare you make me—" "How noisy," she muttered, massaging her temple. She hung up. There was a full 3 seconds of blessed silence. How could someone's voice be so shrill and persistent? The voice was vaguely familiar, but the tone? Absolutely unbearable. She sighed and opened her chat log. The name flashed on screen. Chen Zhenyu. Chen Ruoxi stared at the name. This body was someone who knew Chen Zhenyu? And that meant, if this wasn't her old life, if this wasn't a dream, and if that high school ID was real, then she had really, truly transmigrated. At first, she was only joking when she told herself that she transmigrated. But who would have thought that she really did transmigrated? And by some cosmic joke, she had entered the body of another girl named Chen Ruoxi,